All right, ladies and gentlemen. So it wouldn't be another day that ends in Y if we didn't have a story of PlayStation getting sued. Yes, PlayStation apparently is in a class action lawsuit. And this particular lawsuit is coming from the Netherlands, and it has to do with the pricing when it comes to the PlayStation Store. Now, unfortunately, we do live in a day and age where there just isn't enough digital rights for customers right now compared to physical rights. Digital rights are lagging well behind in that regard. And hopefully, over time, over the next few years, maybe even a decade, we will have a lot better digital rights when it comes to our purchases. But as of right now, these companies, these studios, and everybody in between is all trying to take advantage of the fact that digital rights right now are very scarce and they're few and far between. So they try to pull essentially a lot of fuckery, and now they're going to F around and find out. So let's get into this article. But of course, before we do, special shout out to all of you guys who are subscribed to the channel, the 90,500 plus that are subscribed. And if you are not subscribed and part of the 50% that aren't, consider hitting that subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. So Sony has been summoned to court in a class action lawsuit filed by the Dutch PlayStation players over artificially high PlayStation prices. The class action lawsuit against Sony was announced in February 2025 when the Dutch consumer group, how the hell do you say that word? Massa Shade? I have no idea. And Consummate had alleged that PlayStation stores' prices were artificially high due to Sony tax, and there were accusations about abuse of power. As a result, Sony has been summoned to court over the collective lawsuit. Now, the Sony tax, I've heard about it, I get it, but not only that, the accusations of abuse of power, I don't really think they're accusations, let's be real. A lot of these companies absolutely abuse their power. Nintendo is probably one of the worst of all that abuse their power. I mean, for God's sakes, we got Borderlands with their EULA allowing root access to your system, trying to get all your personal information. It's absolutely insane what these companies are trying to get away with in terms of digital access, digital rights, and all that. It's really bad. But Sony's getting hit with a massive lawsuit. As spotted by MP1 First, the Consummate's new press release mentioned Sony being summoned to court over the PlayStation Store pricing lawsuit. Many Dutch PlayStation owners feel they have been pushed towards digital-only consoles since the latest PS5 generation. Well, so that's not just them. I feel like everybody has been pushed to digital only because that's what they're trying to do. They've announced that that's what they're trying to do. They want to do that. All these companies want to do that. Xbox, for God's sakes, won't even give physical copies of their newest games that are coming out, but you can get a physical copy on PlayStation for Xbox's newest games that are coming out. That's how much these companies are trying to push to digital, where the people who make the game aren't even offering physical, but they offer physical on another person's platform that's not even theirs. It's crazy, man. But they're going to keep trying to do this over time. It's only I don't want to say it's only natural because it shouldn't be natural, but that is where the industry is going to go. Unfortunately, that's the natural course of action where the industry is going to go. But it has been alleged that the consoles work exclusively with digital games instead of physical discs. Moreover, their economic research reveals that consumers pay an average of 47% more for these digital versions than the same game on disc, even though PlayStation's distribution costs are lower. Yes, okay, so this needs to be a thing. This needs to be a thing. They need to 100%. There needs to be more people suing for this because this I never understood, right? I never understood why the physical edition is, in this case, $79.99 now, and the digital edition is also $79.99. I never understood that. Why are you charging the same for digital as you are for physical, knowing that your costs are much lower for the digital than it is for the physical? That's the whole reason why you are pushing the digital in the first place. But let's be real. The reason why they're doing that is because eventually they're going to phase out the physical editions, and they want to be able to charge the same for the digital. So they don't want to start making digital cheaper now, because when the physical editions end up leaving completely, then people are going to look and realize that the only edition that's left is the digital, and now it's $10 cheaper, but there is no physical anymore. So where's the competition for that? They don't care. So they want to keep the price high. That's why they keep the price the same, in my opinion. It's an absolute scam, but they know exactly what they're doing. So I'm glad that they're suing for this. There needs to be more people that sue for this. The release also discusses the allegations about the company's monopoly on digital sales, which, combined with PlayStation's large market share in the console market, leads to a so-called Sony tax. The tax is considered to be an artificially high price that leads to gamers spending more for digital games and in-game content. This is why I am so excited to be part of Steam. I really am. Because not only is Steam as good of a company as you could possibly get. There is no company that's perfect, obviously, and I will never 100% stand by any company. But Steam, for almost 21 years now, my Steam account's about to turn 21 years old next month of the 3rd. Steam for 21 years has done right by me, never once did anything wrong for me anyway. And they even have said many times that if the company were to go under, they have a DRM kill switch that will allow you access to all your games. I mean, they literally do everything they can to try to be consumer friendly. But not only that, their pricing is insane. It is unbeatable. In a couple of days, in 2 days, we're about to experience a Steam summer sale, and everybody's going to go broke at that point because they rather spend the money there than spend $70 on a digital, item one time on the PlayStation Store or any other store for that matter that's not Steam. But in any case, they have a monopoly on digital sales, and people feel like that's a Sony tax. The foundation makes two main accusations against Sony in this class action lawsuit, excluding competition and exploiting consumers and game developers. The foundation feels that PlayStation's platform functions as a closed ecosystem, allowing Sony to decide who gets access under what conditions and at what price. Alternate stores are technically excluded on the PlayStation, which makes players dependent on Sony for their games. Well, I mean, that's exactly what they want, though. That's exactly what they want. They want you to be dependent on their system in their stores. If you're using their system, they're not going to want you to go anywhere else. Consequently, it's been alleged that Sony is taking away developers' commercial freedom of movement. The report adds that third-party developers and publishers are contractually obliged to sell their titles exclusively via the PlayStation Store. Sony has had the final say on the price, which restricts the developers' freedom to set their own price. This is how it's always been. FYI, publishers have always set the price. That's just how it goes. The foundation's economic research states that Sony has made significant profits thanks to these skewed ratios, as there is more than twice as much margin on digital games as on physical. The research reveals that the damage for Dutch consumers has amounted to 435 million euros since 2013. That is disgusting, bro. That is disgusting, dude. Oh my God. So they have about double the margin on digital games compared to physical copies. And then you wonder why they want to continue to maximize the price on the digital copy, because they know that they're eventually going to go digital only. And when they do, they don't want any reason for the price to ever go down. Right? Nobody ever wants the price to go down. They ever want the price to go up. The only people they want the price to go down are the consumers. But the corporation, the price always has to go up. They never want to make it go down unless it's a sale at that point, and they're trying to push extra units. So at this point, this is an interesting lawsuit. I would like to follow this and see what happens, especially the suing over the fact that digital is the same price as physical. I think that is a huge thing that we need to continue pushing these stupid corporations on. And the more that we could push them on this, the better overall in terms of pricing for video games going into the future. That is eventually going to be a digital only future, as much as we hate to say it. So you guys can let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about this story? Do you think that Sony is cooked? Do you think they're actually going to, anything's going to happen to them? Do you think they're going to settle out of court? I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to settle out of court for, some small amount and divvy it up amongst people. But let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments down below. Special shout out to the 90,600 plus actually that are subscribed to the channel right now. And if you are not subscribed and you're part of the 50%, consider hitting that subscribe today. And I'll see you guys on the next one.